Hello, I'm Karen Herrick, and I'm here to talk to you on my third TikTok about there is life after death. So, federal law permits the reproduction, distribution, and exhibition of portions of copyrighted text, images, and videos for the purpose of reporting criticism, teaching, and parody. This video may contain material not authorized by the copyright owner. It is included for educational purposes on the understanding that it constitutes fair use under Title 17, Section 107 of U.S. copyright law. And again, if you don't remember, I'm Karen Herrick. I'm a reverend in the Interfaith Ministry. I have a doctorate in philosophy with a specialization in psychology, another specialization in spiritual psychology. I'm licensed clinical social worker in New York and Nevada and New Jersey. Certified alcohol and drug counselor in New Jersey, and I'm also an interfaith minister. So today we're going to be talking about communicating with the living through mediumship. So communication with the deceased appears to be telepathic to the still living person, even though the deceased are in their dimensions of reality and the living in theirs. So the deceased is over in the etheric side, up there, and the living is here on earth. And this is from a book we've talked about now. This will be our third TikTok, written by Amance Baruch, 2023, for the American Psychological Association. Lists have been given indicating what the spirits are not allowed to do. They don't provide information about the future, fix things, intervening medically, etc. They cannot talk. They send thoughts instead, and they do not interfere with things a person has to do for themselves here on earth. It is not always possible to talk to the deceased person of choice when trying to communicate with a spirit, either in dreams or with the help of a qualified medium. This is where the spirit is in charge. So you can have your pictures. A medium will usually say, bring pictures of your deceased loved one who you'd like to come in, and that is it. You would like them to come in, but somebody else in your family or loved one could come in. Okay, so the spirit's in charge, whoever wants to talk to you the greatest. Okay, so when you have a spirit that is around you, you will feel the psychic chill. And when they're trying to communicate their thoughts to you. So I was on a massage table one time, and the massage therapist told me that my parents were in the room. And I was so freezing, I didn't think I'd ever get warm. It was in August. I was so glad to get back in that hot car in New Jersey. But I felt chilled all over and over and over again. So that's when you know that they're really there, and they really do want to talk to you. How the spirits meet and overcome conditions on earth depends on the individual spirit and how they focus their energy. They try to make a circuit between them and us. And I don't know if you remember that movie that Whoopi Goldberg was in, and she was in Medium. And she was in New York City, and she kept saying, all these people from New Jersey are coming to see me. But she showed you how a medium makes the circuit between themselves and us. Now you have a spiritual ear, you have a physical body and a spiritual body. And your spiritual ear, which is just back of the mastoid bone, will get the thoughts from the spirits. When your spiritual guides, your guardian angel, or our positive ancestors enter our aura, we may have the sensation of chills, and that's called the psychic chill. Okay, so deathbed phenomena for the living. Now, Baruch talks about this, and I also am going to show you a book next that talks about this. So these are called after-death experiences, ADC, or after-death communication. And the first one is sensing a presence, and that's the most common form of after-death communication. And it's just an unmistakable feeling that your loved one is there with you. This is most often reported just days or weeks after a loved one's death, but also has been reported months or even years later. An ADC while asleep, these experiences are much more vivid and real than normal dreams and feel like an actual visit with the person. And these are also very common. Visions. People report seeing their loved one in a picture in the air. There are usually of radiant color, and the vision may be seen by the eyes or in the mind. Out of body ADC, these happen during sleep or a meditative state where the experiencers leave their body. So that's you sitting here on earth and visit your loved one in a very beautiful place on the other side with lots of color and light. Now, therapists, a clinical tool, you can use lists like these with clients that helps reduce the client's fear of mental instability and experience these signs. People experience these, and many, many have, as you can read about in the Guggenheim book, Hello from Heaven. And they wrote this in 1997 about after-death communications. Sensing the present, seeing, feeling, hearing, and smelling are the first and the second most common ADCs. Having conversations through thought. Powerful dreams, aiding bonds of grieving. Hearing meaningful time songs on the radio or favorite music of the deceased. Communications through electronic devices, phones, iPads, computers. Yeah, they can start typing their own words, and it just messes you up if you're trying to take down notes and do something, rational. They can come in, and when that happens, I just let it go, and I try to figure out who it is and what they're trying to say to me. It doesn't happen a lot, but it has happened. Unusual animal, insect, or bird behavior. So seeing those kinds of, like my oldest daughter's on the other side, and she told us she was going to send butterflies to us. And then some people get insects, moths and different things, and maybe a cardinal or a sparrow or whatever bird your person seemed to like. Symbolic messages and other unusual coincidences that happen to you, and only you know, well, this is from Charlie or whoever it is that's on the other side. Sometimes feeling someone heavy sitting on your bed, which is in my first book, You're Not Finished Yet, where she told me she had 3 angels sat, and 1 or 2 sat on her bed, being touched and seeing figures. So you can read about this in Guggenheim, 1997, and in my first book, Herrick, 2007, You're Not Finished Yet. Okay, now we have a favorite psychologist, William James, who is sometimes called the father of American psychology. He was born in 1842 and died in 1910. And he was the first psychologist to study mediumship. Okay, so William James stated there was an unseen world all around us. And in the fall of 1885, he began working with Mrs. Lenora Piper, who you can see here underneath his picture, who's a trance medium. She would go into trance, and she would state what was happening with, at that time, he and his wife had lost a toddler child, and they were wondering where their son was. And so she would talk about their son. Somebody would write that down, and they would read it after the seance was over, and she didn't remember anything she said. The sessions of these meetings historically were called a seance. And James and his colleagues wanted to prove telepathy. So what they thought was that when you went in for a reading with Charlie, who is deceased, that the medium was taking down your thoughts telepathically about what you knew about Charlie, right? And she was just repeating them back to you from your memory that you didn't say to her. Okay, but then after a while, mediums were telling you, the person who's coming, the sitter, all kinds of things that you didn't even know about in your family. So you'd go home and you ask your aunt or your grandmother, and they'd say, oh yeah, that happened. So then they didn't know, James and his colleagues, where was this information coming from? So they didn't realize in the beginning that mediums have a gift, and they're usually born with it, but it can happen after an accident, a plane crash, whatever. And then they wake up and all of a sudden they have this gift where they can talk to spirits. Okay, so he lost a toddler son, which created his interest in mediums, and he talked about that as part of his psychology. Although, when I went to get my master's and learned about James, they don't teach you this in a university, that he studied mediumship, because it's kind of, that woo-woo subject that nobody wants to understand. So if you stick with me in these TikToks, you're going to understand how a medium gets this information and where it comes from. Your spirits up there that want to communicate with you. Okay, so James and his colleagues wanted to prove telepathy. He called Mrs. Piper his white crow, since she was usually 85% accurate, which is an excellent accurate percentage, very different from the normal black crows or mediums. Their main psychological thought was that when the sitter came in, okay, that's just what I've explained, and you can now read it on this slide. And we've come a lot further knowing about mediumship since James. Now mediums don't go into trance anymore. They just talk to you and tell you what they're seeing and give you information. And then you can decide if it's your person. Okay, so here, mediumship is still one of the most controversial areas of consciousness research. And that's from the Bix research in 2022, which was a contest held in Las Vegas. And this gentleman said he would give $1 million to anybody who could prove life after death. Okay, so a spirit is an energy field that gives awareness of a living presence, usually bringing with it a drop in temperature. So always they are cold because they're coming from a different vibration than we have. And when they come down into our vibration, we get cold. Mediumship is not a profession one chooses. It is usually inherited. This gift may come from a blow to your head or a fall or an accident. It can also appear after some other type of spiritual experience. Spirits may want to speak to us because, number one, their life was cut short. They thought they had more time than they did, or they have unfinished business with us, and to give proof of survival, and maybe they are lonely up there. We on Earth want to usually know where they are and if they are okay. And sometimes we feel guilty. Feelings of guilt should not last longer than the time it takes to evaluate a situation or experience and make a judgment for oneself. To hold on to guilt for hours, days, months, or years is self-punishing, self-degrading, and unnecessary. Guilt is an overworked emotion, sometimes encouraged by society. You know, like the PTA ladies who say, oh, you can't drop out, we need your cupcakes. And usually the spirits just miss us and we miss them. And so that's why you can have this telepathic arrangement with them eventually, because there's love there, and love is the energy that connects us to the other side. Okay, and this shows you a medium, a gentleman, and then they're all spirits around him. So that's how he can describe them to you. And I got this in Lilydale, which is a town in New York State, upper New York, where mediums live. Okay, now another psychologist who is my favorite is Carl Jung. And Carl Jung believed in mediumship also. His mother had psychic ability. His grandfather used to talk to his deceased wife with his second wife at lunch. So Carl Jung got to see all these different levels of consciousness and how people were interacting in them, and thus he became interested in psychology. So Jung was present at an investigation of a medium. And down below, this second illustration here on slide 12 shows you there's a medium there, and the energy is coming from the medium into the people at the seance. And then that person, which looks like a man to me, is receiving information about you sitting in the seance. But in this one sitting, there was an electrical engineer who measured the degree of ionization of the atmosphere in the immediate vicinity of the medium. Now, at one point on the right side of her chest, so the medium was a woman, the ionization was about 60 times normal of anybody else in the room. So that proves that mediums have more energy and more electricity. And that's why they act like the radio for the waves that come in. Okay? So this ion situation, Jung said, needs to be studied further, and it is a task for the future. And I believe the task is now. And I believe the only way we're going to get good information is we're going to have to study mediums more and more who have clairvoyant powers. And because mediums are the ones that can tell us what's happening. So we're going to have to start to believe in it. And of course, William James said the best way to believe in mediums is to go to have a reading with one of them. Okay, so why can we do all these? Why can we have this kind of clairvoyant energy come through to us. So we have three altered states of consciousness, right? So when you breathe, I want you to breathe in to the count of 4 and hold it, and then breathe out a long out breath. Okay, then breathe in to the count of 4 and hold your breath, and then breathe out in a long breath, the longest breath you can have. Excuse that. Okay, so that's called the vagus breathing, and that can lower panic or anxiety, but also can help you meditate. Okay, so we have 3 altered states of consciousness. And the first one would be, okay, so you have the psychic reality, you have where miracles happen, and you have the material world here. So these are 3 metaphysical systems that are all around us all the time. We have at least 3 in the world helping us to understand how these spiritual experiences come and go in our lives. And this is from Lawrence LeShan's book. He was a psychologist in 1995. Okay. So I'm going to talk about the first one is our sensory materialistic world where things can be explained in a rational way and where there is cause and effect. In this reality, everyone can see what is going on and there is a past, present, and a future. So I'm talking to you on TikTok. You are listening to me. We are both in this material world. Okay? Sensory and materialistic. There's a past, present, and future in this world. Okay. Hold on. All right. So, and the second one is the clairvoyant reality, where I talk to you about mediums are in this reality when they can tell us what our spirit loved one on the other side is talking to us. So this is called the clairvoyant reality or unobstructed universe. In this reality, only one person can see what is being experienced. And there are things such as, but not limited to, telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, prayer, contemplation, and meditation. And they take you into the clairvoyant world. Feelings determine your response, your heart and mind connect, and it is where we experience the now, N-O-W, which is a place where we get to know and connect to our soul. The feelings in this reality are those of calm, peace, serenity, centeredness, and connectedness. There's a book called Every Breath is Precious by Leslie Lupo, and she stated that when she was upstairs or on the other side, she was in the now. Now, if you want to be in the now on earth, some examples are that you have a sense of profound inner peace, overwhelming love, a feeling of unity with the earth and all living things. You feel complete joy and ecstasy, sensing God's energy or presence. Now, these are all spiritual experiences, but you're feeling in the now, so it's very different. Meeting or listening to a spiritual teacher or master. Seeing a great spiritual figure like Jesus, Mary, Buddha. Seeing angels or spiritual guides. Communicating with someone who has died. An experience of near death or life after death. A miraculous or unusual event, which is the next level. And this third reality is a transpsychic reality where healings and miracles happen. And this is where the mobilization and focusing of some as yet undefined type of energy happens. And that's psychology's way of saying it could be God, okay? And psychology doesn't usually use the word God or higher power. Okay, we have miracles that appear to be universal. And this is from a 2008 survey. Protestants say 86% that miracles happen. Catholics 83, Mormon 96, Jehovah's Witness 30, Orthodox Jews 79, just regular Jews 52, Muslim 69%, Buddhist 62, Hindu 69, unaffiliated of any religion 55%, and all Americans, the 219, Sharon Rowlett said that we have 79% of Americans that believe in miracles. So this is, have you ever experienced or witnessed a divine healing of an illness or injury? A 2004 survey of American doctors said 55 of them saw results they would consider miraculous. So miracles happen. Okay, I want to thank you for joining me for my number 3 TikTok. If you have any questions, you can always reach me on email, Karen@KarenHerrick.com. And my TikTok name is Karen, Karen Herrick, Herrick 7. I teach other therapists and anybody else who is interested on CEYOU.org. CEYOU.org. Anyone can participate, and professionals can earn 2 CE credits for a 2-hour webinar, and they can earn 3 for a 3-hour webinar. And the 2-hour webinar is being held July 29th, 2025. What archetypes are you living? That's about Jungian psychology. That's next week. And then August 7th, there's a 3-hour cultural competence and scientific exploration of consciousness of the Baruch book of 2023 from the American Psychological Association. I thank you for being with me today and for listening. And here is my contact information. My email is Karen@KarenHerrick.com. The YouTube channel is www.youtube.com. And the website, KarenEHerrick.com. And you can visit my videos on YouTube. And thank you so much for listening.